What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. We have some news today. The CSG slash CGC announcements has finally come. Much teased, much ballyhooed. Does it live up to the hype? You all could tell me in the comments down below. Audio might sound a little bit different. I am recording on the go today. So, what is going on? In the past, or up in the present, CSG and CGC were the same company, but not. CSG used one grading scale, CGC used a different grading scale. As of mid-July, CSG will be no more. Everything will be labeled under CGC trading cards instead of the old CSG and CGC split. A lot of changes that also seem to be coming along with this. We once again have another new label. You can see it on the screen there. It looks very similar to the CSG sports card label. It is the same size, at least it appears to be. The case itself is also unchanged. The big thing here, well, before we get into the gritty details on this, let's continue going over the changes. The other big shakeup here is, for those that may or may not realize this, if you just grade sports cards, you might not recognize this. CGC, on the CGC side, so for Marvel, Magic, Pokemon, TCG, etc., they used the Beckett grading scale. 9.5 was their gem mint grade, and they offered subgrades. The CSG side basically used the SGC grading scale with a gem mint 10, a mint plus 9.5, and a pristine 10. With this change, they are basically adapting the CSG grading scale. So everything that was a gem mint 9.5 under CGC is now going to be a gem mint 10 in this new version of CGC. Also, subgrades are going away. You will no longer be able to get subgrades, period, full stop, with any cards submitted to this new CGC. That will be a big change for the Pokemon and Magic and Marvel people. They do cite in here, in the article, and I'll link to it in the video description, that less than 5% or around 5% of orders requested subgrades. So people will throw a big fit about subgrades going away, but the bottom line is most people do not pay to have the subgrades added on, which is part of the reason why they are getting rid of it. The pristine 10 grade remains. The perfect 10 grade is going away. I believe it was a microscopic section of their population report. Obviously, CSG/CGC will honor the grades that are out there. They're not going to be removed from the pop report or anything like that. They will just not be issued going forward. When does this all go into effect? Mid-July. So any orders at the companies presently will be graded the old way unless you reach out to them and request them to be held. So if you want that done, I highly recommend you dig into this article and check out the details on that. Membership fee is also going away. You will be able to submit without having a paid membership. However, if you do have a paid membership, you will receive a discount. In the past, you needed a membership just to be able to submit. Reholder special, they are offering a reholder special along with this for $5 instead of the normal $10 fee. So if you want things moved over, you can. So that's essentially the gritty details. Let's get into some general thoughts on this. Oh, a couple other little things. The grading teams that specialized in the various niches that they were in will continue to grade those cards, but they will all be assigned under CGC trading cards. One of the other nice benefits of them combining together and streamlining things is in the past, if you wanted to send cards to both companies, say you wanted to send some sports cards and some TCG cards in, you had to send those as two separate orders, even if you were sending them on the same day, because they went to two separate places, technically. Under this new version of the company, you'll be able to send everything in one through one submission center, which will clean things up. Once again, I'm just hitting this stuff on a very high level to get you the information. I highly recommend reading the article on this that I will link in the description down below. So some thoughts. From a macro level, I understand why they are doing this. It does make sense. The CGC name is what they are known for. That is how people recognize them. That name has been around forever. On the CGC side, currently, from a card grading perspective, they do pretty well. They grade a large amount of TCG cards. They always rank very well in the gem rate data. The sports card side has struggled. So I get trying to go with that brand equity that you have on the CGC side. And also, it sounds like there's a lot of back-end benefits for both them and us as consumers to kind of clean some of this stuff up. So from a larger perspective, I get what they're doing. That being said, this is the second time that they have made a major shakeup like this. They had the CSG green label subgrade switch a little over a year ago. Why, if you were going to eventually get to this point, was this discussed back then, this radical of a change? Why didn't you just do it then? Really, in hindsight, being 2020, obviously, why didn't you just start this way to begin with? To me, it feels like it was a mistake, and they've kind of been chasing it ever since, to launch CSG just not under the CGC trading card name. And in the meantime, you kind of had to go through all this turmoil to get to the point that we are now at today. And I do think that they will probably take a short-term hit for this. So this definitely feels like a break a few eggs to make an omelet type situation. Hey, we're going to take it on the chin from a PR perspective and probably a submission perspective as well, till things kind of sort themselves out, for the overall long-term health of, we want this to work for a while, so we got to kind of eventually rip this Band-Aid off. Should the Band-Aid have been ripped off earlier? Probably back when you initially switched up the CSG stuff. It should have just been done then. And really, in all honesty, it should have just never been this way to begin with. It should have just been one company, one name. It never really made a lot of sense to have the sports card stuff split out in their own thing. And in addition to that, as this is a very niche case, but I have a feeling, one, anyone that really likes subgrades is going to be mad, but as we talked about, that's 5% of their paying audience, so that's a small part. I think the people that are going to be the most upset by this, and I will count myself in this number, are Marvel card folks. It's a niche market, but CGC had kind of become, if you weren't grading with PSA, they were to go to for Marvel card grading, because a lot of collectors really liked the label match on the CGC labels. That was a big deal. That will be going away. So that one hurts. And I think a lot of people are going to be upset by that. A lot of set collectors, a lot of character collectors like all their stuff to match. And that is not going to be the case anymore. So some interesting feedback there, if you will, on how that's going to play out. I think that's going to be the group that is going to be the most mad about this. And like I said, I was not thrilled about that particular change. I get what they're doing from the global standpoint, and I can say they do mention in here that they did do, where did this come from? They did do focus group surveys, etc. I am allowed to say that I did participate in those focus groups, so I know that they did reach out to collectors, content creators, people in the space, and gathered feedback. So I have known that this is coming for a little bit of time now. And like I said, the Marvel card side thing, that one, I got to debate. I think I'm going to try to send a bunch of stuff in before this change goes into effect to get it in the old blue label. I don't know that I'm going to be reholdering any Marvel stuff. So that's the quick and dirty on this. As always, curious for your thoughts and comments down below. It sounds like this is all going to launch in mid-July, so you got a little bit of time to figure out what you want to do with a full rollout at the National. So CSG was the first of the grading companies to kind of disappear in a weird sort of way. Obviously, they're not going out of business or anything, but we've been saying that the space is too crowded. It's a weird way to kind of get there, but we are technically one grading company less. I know from a content perspective, having to say CSG/CGC all the time was a huge pain in the butt, so I am glad that gets cleared up. We will catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.